All right. Hi, everyone. This is the Heat Tuesday night training call. And we always make a plan to be on this call every Tuesday night. And we have some of the best in the business here to greet us and share their wisdom. So I'm Alita Spire, and I'm one of the national marketing directors on the Heat team. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm super excited to be introducing a rock star, in my opinion. She exhibits what it means to be a buddy and how to be a buddy. And I am hoping that she's going to share with us exactly what does a buddy do and how do you do that if you have somebody across country. And I know her and one of her best friends were able to get to NMD within a couple of months of each other. So I'm super, super happy to be able to introduce Paggy Rivera. So Paggy is a 50 Club National Marketing Director and has been with the Juice Plus company for 9.5 years. She reached National Marketing Director in 4.5 years. And she has been nominated for 12 and 24 Club of the Year and won 24 Club of the Year at the Elton Awards in St. Louis. She's a former military spouse to her husband, Alex, who was captain and positioned as assistant in the U.S. Army and a sales coordinator on her team. Paggy has a degree in biblical counseling from Liberty University, and she obtained on her way to NMD. Whoa, girl. Alex and Paggy have 2 kiddos, Jonah and Charlotte. I have a little girl named Charlotte too, and now live in their hometown of Bakersfield, California. They're so thankful for this company and that this Juice Plus business is so portable and has gone everywhere that they go. Paggy, I'm super happy to introduce you. We have about 25 minutes, and I'm going to let you take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was so fun getting to sit at the table with Alita when we were in San Diego this summer. And we meet just the coolest people and get the best. I mean, we get to have amazing relationships with people I would have never come in contact with if it weren't for this business. So that's one of the things I'm thankful for about this community and who we are as a whole. So first I'm going to start with my story. And hi, Melissa. Oh, good. I see a lot of faces that I know here. This is so fun. I'm going to tell my story first, and then I'll dive into what it means to be a buddy and how to do your business that way. So like Alita said, our journey began about 9.5 years ago, and this was when my husband was in the military. And at that time, we were struggling both with our health and our finances. And our health, there were a lot of things that we just thought were normal. I had eczema, my son had eczema, allergies. We were sick all the time. Those things we just thought were normal because everybody who dealt with that, everybody that I knew did. But the one thing that was really pressing was my daughter had severe chronic constipation. And she was only 4 years old at the time, and she had been dealing with that for several years. So for me as a mom, that was what prompted me to start looking into making some healthy changes, because we had been in and out of the doctor. We had done all of the things that the doctor said to do, but it wasn't getting to the core of the problem. And while that was all going on, we were really struggling with our finances. I was wanting to stay at home and homeschool my kids because in the military, we move around often. And at that point, we were moving around every 2.5, 3.5 years. And it was really inconsistent for the kids to keep going in and out of school. So I wanted to homeschool them. And I was kind of at a crossroads because we were really struggling with our finances. We only had Alex's income. And at the time, he was not a captain. He was not an officer yet. And so he wasn't making very much income. And so I was considering getting a job outside the home, but just was really struggling with that, like I said, because I wanted to be there for my kids. And so I picked up the phone one day. I didn't know what else to do. And I called my best friend. Her name is Bree Burford. I know some of you know her. And picked up the phone and called her and just told her about our health, our finances, and all that was going on. And now looking at it backwards from the other side, she was probably going, oh my gosh, like, what do I say in her brain, because everything that I was saying was something that she had a solution for. And so at the very end of our conversation, she just listened the entire time. She was a really good Juice Plus distributor. And she said, I think I may have a solution for you. You can always try what I do. Give it a shot. And my first response was, heck no. I'm not one of those kind of moms that stay at home and sell things. I need to go make real income, and I don't even want to like touch this. And she's like, okay. And that was it. She didn't beg me. She didn't plead for me. She just let it go and kind of let God do the work. Because as soon as I hung up the phone, I was like, I was kind of put in my place, because I had been praying for a solution for our health and for our finances. That's why I called her. And here she offered me a solution, and I turned her down. And immediately I was like, I need to call her back. But I waited a couple days, because I didn't want to seem like I was too ambitious, right? Calling her back, I had to kind of grovel a little bit. But I asked a bunch of questions, and some of the questions I had were, am I going to have to stock up on a bunch of Juice Plus and put it in my garage or my trunk of my car and have to sell it? And she's like, no, that's not going to happen. And I'm like, well, we don't have very much money, so I don't know if I can afford this. And, how much is it? She's like, $50. I'm like, is there a lot of pressure? Because I don't want all that pressure. And anyway, so I decided to jump in, because really I didn't have another option. I didn't know what else I was going to do. So I decided to pay the $50. My daughter and I got started on Juice Plus, and we were off. And I decided that I was going to jump in. If I was going to do this, I was going to do this. And so within a week, my daughter's constipation was completely healed. And as soon as that happened, I had my story. I knew that I needed to share this with other people. And so I just did. I started sharing with my friends at the playground, and, my kids were playing at the park and at Bible studies, and, just random, just sharing. And so I built my business that way. And so I decided that everybody needed to hear about this. And so they did. And so my goal in the beginning was to earn an extra $500 a month. That was it. That was enough to keep me home and, keep me from having to go back to work, get a job outside the home. And so I did that in the first maybe 3 or 4 months. I can't remember, but it was pretty quick. I started earning $500 a month. And that's when my husband started like going, wow, so there's something to this. And I thought, okay, this is special. And then after the $500 came to be, it was like, I might as well just go all in and start building a team. And so that's what I did. And that's kind of how we got started. I mean, I'm sure there's a longer story, but that's not what we're talking about today. I built my business kind of in the nooks and crannies of my day as my kids were growing up. And I was also a student, like she said. So it was busy, but I found time. It was usually early in the morning before my kids woke up, while they were napping, or after they went to bed, is how I built my business. And now my oldest son is going to be a junior in high school tomorrow, and my daughter's going to be in 7th grade. So it looks different. Wherever you are in your journey right now, it's going to look different a couple of years from now, depending on what season of life you're in. So what I was invited on here today to talk about is how to do this business with a buddy, and how to be a buddy, because that's kind of how Bree and I created such an amazing community together. And so I'm going to tell a little bit about that and what that looks like. So in the beginning, when she invited me to take a look at this business, she had been doing this for 4 years, basically by herself. She didn't really have somebody that caught the vision. I mean, she had a couple team members, and they were awesome, but they didn't really, catch on fire. They didn't catch the vision. And so she was kind of waiting for that person. And so when I joined her and I decided that I was going to run with this, of course, she got super excited. And so we locked arms. And I'm going to tell you a little bit what that looked like, because you might be wondering kind of how that looks. So there's 3 ways. What I wrote down earlier today as I was thinking about this is there's 3 ways to be in a relationship with a team member. And 2 of them are wrong. And 1 of them is the right way to do it, because I've learned this over time. And it's not that they're wrong, but maybe it's different phases of your business, but you kind of learn which one to grow into. So number 1, you can be codependent. And codependent is not good, because that means that you can't do your business if the other one is not present. And that's not a good way to go about it. You have to make a decision first that you're going to do this business no matter what. And whatever the buddy adds is support and excitement and fuel, but you can't be codependent. I know it's easy to kind of slip into that role every now and then, and kind of think that, you know, you need them for your spark and your energy, but make the decision right away that you're going to do this business no matter what. Number two is independent. So I've seen this a lot. I don't know how many times you've seen this, but you sign up a team member and you're calling them and you're wanting to do events with them and they're like, nope, I've got it. And they get new team members and you're like, yay, let's do a three-way call. Nope, I've got it. So they tend to pull away and be isolated. And that's no way to do your business either. So if we don't want you to be codependent and we don't want you to be independent, there's a better way to do it, and that's called interdependent. And so this is when you're together, but you don't solely rely on the other person. So you are operating independently while at the same time staying plugged into the community and using the other person for help. So I hope that makes some sense. But that's kind of how Bree and I have worked so well together over the years. So in the very beginning, when I first signed up as a distributor, what it looked like, we didn't have Voxer. We didn't really have all the things that we do now. And so I would actually pick up the phone. Like, I don't know if I do that a lot anymore, but in the beginning, that's what I did because that was our form of communication. And so I picked up the phone and I would call her when I had a question. So I would be talking to a friend and a question would come up and I didn't know the answer to it. So I would say, you know what? I don't know the answer, but I'll get back to you. So then I would go pick up the phone and call Bree. And in the very beginning, it was kind of a joke because I would call her several times a day and ask questions, probably like 10 times a day, but it was never a long conversation. It was always a very quick exchange, maybe 30 seconds. Like, you know, somebody wants to order and they want to do a children's health study. I'm not sure how to put the order in, and she would tell me, and that was it. I would hang up the phone. So I would use her as a resource, but I didn't make her do my business for me. I took ownership of that. So that's another skill that you need, that's good to learn as well, is use your upline as a resource or your buddy as a resource and not somebody that's going to do the business for you, because that's not going to help anybody. That's like, you know, and that's like fishing for someone instead of teaching them how to fish. You know what I'm saying? So we want to give them the tools and show them where to go, and then let them kind of find their way. So that's kind of what I would do in the very beginning. And then she would point me in the right direction. So I stumbled across this old video of, well, it wasn't old at the time. It was brand new at the time, but it was Julie Herbst, and she was doing a wellness presentation, like a traditional wellness presentation at your house with friends, and you're presenting Juice Plus. I didn't know how to do that by myself. So I listened to Julie Herbst, and I don't know if any of you remember this, if you've been around that long to remember this, but she actually it was just audio at the time. She didn't do a video, it was audio, but she was pretending to be in front of a room and sharing Juice Plus. And she did it word for word, and I was taking notes the entire time. And so I told Bree, okay, I'm ready to do my first wellness presentation. She's like, great, I'll come to your house and I'll do the presentation for you one time so you can then learn how to do it for the next time. I was like, nope, I've got it. I still want you to come to support me, but I've already listened to Julie Herbst. I know how it's done. I can do it. And she's like, all right. So she came, and I had some people show up. This is my very first wellness presentation. And Bree just sat in the audience. Like, she didn't really help unless at the very end, I got questions, and if I didn't know the answer, I would just point to her and kind of introduce her. But I did that very, very first wellness presentation all by myself. And yes, I was nervous because I was brand new, but I jumped in and did it anyway. And that's the best way to learn, is just do it anyway. I mean, do it scared, do it when you don't really even know what you're doing, but it's really not that hard. And so that's how that relationship looked as far as doing wellness presentations. So over time, so my husband and I were quickly shipped out. So we were only there in Colorado. So that's where I signed up. Bree happened to live there. So we were only together for a year, running our businesses together for a year in the same town. And then we got moved to Texas. So I could have freaked out and went, oh no, like, what am I going to do? Because I'm leaving and now she's going to be here. But we had established and set up set times for our team to have a call every week, just like this, even though we only had maybe 5 people. But at the time, we still did it. We set the date and we showed up. Even if only 3 people got on the call, 4 people, 5 people, we still had a time. So I remained plugged in, and that was it. I mean, really, now virtually, you can do anything. It doesn't matter where you are across the world. You can show up like this on Zoom and do events together. Facebook Live is really, really great for doing events together as well, because you can invite in your friends. Or if you have the webinar feature here on Zoom, you can invite in as many people as you want and stream it over to Facebook. So technology bridges the distance for sure. So when I moved to Texas, we weren't using Zoom yet. So we just kind of had to make do with what we had. So while I stayed plugged into all our team calls and everything, I continued to go have events. But again, every time I got a new distributor or anyone that came in new, or like somebody that needed to be introduced to something for a 3-way phone call, I would always use Bree for that. Because it doesn't matter how far you get up this marketing plan, use your upline, use them. That's what we're here for. We want to support you, and it's always great to have that third validator. So while I was in Texas, I met another rock star on our team. So I didn't know that at the time, but I showed up at a Bible study. So I always tell people, if you need to know where to meet friends or how to get friends, sign up for a workout class, go to a Bible study if that's your thing, find a new church if that's your thing, find a group of people that are interested in the same things that you are. And then you are going to find somebody that has passions just like you. You can go on meetup.com if that's still around. I know it was a thing a while ago. You can, if you like to hike, you can find hiking groups. If you like to cook, you can find cooking groups. Whatever your interests are, you can go there and find other people with similar passions. You're going to find your people there if you don't have that in your community already. So figure out how you can get around other people with similar ideas and passions as you. So I showed up at a Bible study, and the very first day I was sitting across the table from someone, and we were going through the line getting some food, and I noticed that she was being very selective on what she was picking for her food, and she was picking the healthier options and leaving behind the stuff that was processed and all of that. And so my radar went off, and later on I asked her, hey, have you always eaten like this, or is this new? Is this, and she just went into this whole story about how she needed to eat because she had some esophageal issues. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. EOE is what she has. Anyway, so it's an autoimmune disorder. So she was eating for a certain way. And so she launched into this whole story, and I just listened, and slowly over time, so we still emailed back then, and people actually opened your emails. And so I emailed her several times, and it took about 6 months. But eventually, circumstances changed in her life, and it was right for her to ask some more questions about Juice Plus, and she did. Anyway, so long story short, she joined my team, and she happens to be Danette Blair, which is an NMD downline to me now. And I didn't know that at the time, but she became my buddy locally when my other buddy, Bree, was in Colorado. So wherever you are, well, number one, you can have multiple buddies. You don't have to have just one buddy. And that's the key, is you want like a train full of all kinds of buddies. Because that's how you're going to be able to do your business. Because as you start signing up people underneath you, they're going to need a buddy too. So you can be a buddy also to people in your downline that don't yet have a buddy, if that makes sense. And you also want to use strengths and weaknesses. So Bree has a lot of strengths that I don't have. Danette has a lot of strengths that I don't have. And now we have 4 more or something NMDs underneath our line. And so we get to pick from everybody's strengths and weaknesses. And so whatever your strengths are, use those. And then use your buddy just admit, if you don't know how to do something, it's totally fine. Chances are your buddy or somebody else will know how to do that. Use them as a resource. In fact, you don't want to be the person that knows it all, because I heard that one time. If you like think that you know the most at whatever table you're sitting at the wrong table. You need to go hang out with people that are going to challenge you and help you to level up a little bit. And that way you can use their strengths and stuff as well. Sorry, I'm just watching the time just to make sure I don't go over. So now we've been doing this for 9.5 years. So Bree and I worked our way up the marketing plan together. She would get on a plane and come visit me. I would go get on a plane and go visit her. Just be intentional about your relationships, whether it's with your upline or your downline, whoever you're going to be a buddy to, be intentional about that. And learn how to be a buddy. So Bree was a great buddy for me because she had learned how to be a buddy from her upline. So pay attention. Pay attention to your upline and how they treat you and how to be a buddy. And then use that when you go meet somebody in your downline and how to treat them. So when you're a buddy first, that's how you get one. Also, just to know, you don't have to have a very best friend in order to do this business. I've had people come up to me before, what if I don't have a buddy? What if I don't have somebody that's my very best friend like you do? Because, oh, by the way, Bree and I have known each other since 5th grade. So, I mean, not that many people have that sort of relationship. You can find that. You can find a buddy, like I said, if you go get involved in different areas of, whatever your passions are, you can find those buddies. They will come. They will pop up. And okay, let me backtrack a second. I was getting ahead of myself. So Bree and I eventually, so it took about 4 years where NMD was like real close. So NMD, National Marketing Director, for those of you that might not know, is the top level of our compensation plan. And so right as we were running together in the very beginning, and I went to my very first conference in Orlando, Florida. So this was in 2010 I think it was a fall conference. And that was my very first conference. And so I highly, highly, highly recommend all of you get to every conference there is. I was just telling my team earlier, there is not a story that I have heard, like really great stories in this Juice Plus business, that somehow aren't linked back to an experience that they had at conference. I'm hoping I explained that right. But all great stories somehow link back to a conference or a conference experience. And that's because that's where the vision comes from. So I went to my very first conference in Orlando, Florida, and I'm sitting in the audience, and I remember Bree's upline turning to me, and they just whispered, at the next little break, I want you to stand up and just look around. Just look around the room, take it all in. And I was like, okay, we were sitting kind of toward the front. So to me, it was just like the rows that were in front of us were at conference, right? So I stand up at the next little break, people were clapping or whatever. And I turned around and I looked all the way back to the back, all the way to the sides, and tears just started streaming down my face. Because for me, I felt like, this was my first Juice Plus big experience. And so for me, in my brain, it was just a small little community of people. And then you go to a conference and it's like, whoa, there are a ton of people that have caught this vision and that are ready to run and that are totally on fire for this business. And so that's when I knew that there were tons more people out there for me to talk to. There were lots of people that were going to say yes to me. And so just crying I just cry at conferences all the time anyway. But it was when I was sitting there listening to the National Marketing Director speeches that I knew that that's where I wanted to go. If I didn't go to that conference, especially with Bree, she's sitting right next to me, and so we get to cry together, I wouldn't have known that that's where I wanted to go, and I wouldn't have been so excited. So get to conference. Austin's coming up. It's going to be amazing. And that's the only way you can get the big vision and you can feel supported and loved and a part of a community. And I always tell people it's the #1 tool for your business. Hands down, #1 tool for your business. We can't give you what conference does. Just the friendships and the emotion and the things that you hear and the people from corporate that speak, and you get to feel supported all around you, from our home office and from your sideline buddies. And you get to meet all kinds of people. I remember going to that first conference and Bree would stop in the hallway and talk to so many people. And I was like, oh my gosh, how does she know this many people? And now I can't get up and go to the bathroom without being stopped 5 million times, because I love all my friends that I've come to know through this journey. So we worked our way up to national marketing director. She got to national marketing director, I think it was 2 months before I promoted to national marketing director. So she gave her speech in Memphis in the fall, and then I gave my speech in Sacramento in the spring. And so that was just a cool experience. And for our team to see that, it just caught fire. And that energy and that momentum just kept going. But we did this together while being separate. So if you're in the same town with your buddy, like, you better be running together and excited, because you are blessed to have your buddy in your same town. If you have a buddy that you're thinking of right now that is not yet on your team, and you want them to be on your team, and they're a friend that you can pick up the phone and just say, oh my gosh, I see how, like, you would be amazing on my team. I would love to do this with you. Call them. Just pick up the phone and call them. You never know what they're going to say. Also, they might turn you down, because I did. And, what I didn't share is I was a canceled customer. I was a canceled customer for a good couple of years before that day I picked up the phone and called Bree. So she shared with me about Juice Plus. It was in an email or something that she was sending out at the time. And I was like, okay, well, sure, I'll just buy it. So I bought it, but I didn't watch any of the DVDs that she sent. I didn't read any of the information that she sent me. So I had no clue what I was doing. I just bought it because I was going to support my friend. But it didn't really mean anything to me at the time, and so I canceled. And when I canceled, she was super gracious. I couldn't tell that she was sad about it at all, but now she'll tell you she was devastated because she thought that was the end of the line for me. But just know, if you've ever tried to talk to your buddies about this, whether it's your best friend or your cousin or your mom or whoever, and they have turned you down, just wait, because you never know. Circumstances could change in their life where they need Juice Plus, and they realize that for themselves. So I think that's about it.
Wow, that was awesome, Peggy. You're precious. You really are. You have so much joy and light in your eyes. And I know that being interdependent is the way to be. Being codependent doesn't help anybody. If they could do something for themselves that they could easily do. And she had the confidence in you, and you had the confidence in yourself to go forward with it. And we hear stories all the time about that, right? But I remember when Nikki is my upline, and she did an event in my house, and I was writing everything down. I recorded it on a CD. I listened to it over and over again, and then I just kind of did it myself because she lived out of state.
Yeah.
So I just think there's just no way that we can make that excuse anymore, not with Zoom, not with plugging in at the end of a salad in a jar party and Zoom in your upline so they can close it for us. Yeah. There's so many things now we can do. It's awesome. So I don't know where we're at. I think we're really about close, but if somebody has a really burning question, if they want to unmute themselves and ask it, that would be awesome.
While we're waiting for somebody's hand to come up or say something, Peggy, absolutely, you're so delightful. I mean, the energy that comes off is just the way Alita said, it's really sweet and it's totally inviting. Like, I kept wanting to lean into you. That's probably what makes a great buddy.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow, it's great. And it was a pleasure meeting you because you treated me like I was on your team. And I think that's probably you do that with everybody. That's how you can tell a good leader, right? Because you're willing to step out and be a one team, one mission gal.
Yeah, and that's the great part about this company is because it's so easy to do that. Everybody's so wonderful. It's so easy to do that.
Yeah. So does anybody else have a question before we end tonight? Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I know that Nikki's going to unmute and everybody's going to say, hey, thank you.
So, yeah. So what I am is I'm unmuting everybody. And would you please give a really great heat thank you to Peggy. It was fabulous.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you so much, Peggy. You're such a rock star. Massive love and respect
Awesome
to you.
job.
Good.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.